Let me, might go double check, just to be sure.
Been here in Denver for many years, but I finally sold that property in Denver and moved here in February.
Oh, well, welcome back then.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see what we got here.
So,
It's
Mr.
just
Buck,
one thing on the agenda, correct?
Have you guys seen a drop in hotel stays in the last few days, few weeks at least?
There's been a drop of tourists,
Yeah,
of people.
yeah,
There's still personnel here
from the fire.
for FEMA and stuff, but that's the majority, to me, that's the majority of our
Stay.
business and for all the hotels. And so the rates and stuff you see is because we're still filled with personnel. So fire personnel has been replaced with FEMA.
Corps of
so
Engineers, stuff
now
like that.
there's another company, I'm trying to figure out what they do. Maybe they're helping with shoring up, clearing up our watershed for debris going in, or the design of, so I was trying to figure out what this company, but this company's pretty big, and there's just bids left and right for these,
Contractors.
coming
Yeah,
in
that's pretty cool.
for it. But as far as incoming people, off the road and tourists, that has dramatically dropped.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people on the road, so they're just not staying here.
Some are, and then if they did, we don't have the rooms to ride them. All right, let's call this meeting to order. Roll call.
All right, Member Martinez,
Present.
Member Strader,
Present.
Member Ortega Angel,
Present.
and Chairman Bacta.
Present.
Okay, all present.
All right. Everybody's seen the agenda, so I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
I'll second.
All right. Everyone who approves, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Approval of minutes.
I need to make a correction on those minutes.
Okay,
You have me as absent. I attempted, but the city could not make that happen.
right.
So I tried for about 30, 40 minutes. So you need to change that. I was physically not here. I tried to do the Zoom or whatever means,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Well, I can't change it to present because you weren't
Okay,
present and
then
didn't
you
vote.
need to
But if
take
you'd like me to
take
add,
absent off or whatever, but add the fact that the city could not provide access.
Well, can we just say it's excused? I mean, she couldn't make it, so it should be excused versus.
yes, we can change it to excuse, and I can just put
A notation that
attempted, remote call-in and it failed,
Yeah.
something like that.
the
Will that be
city-
okay?
The city could not,
So it'd be
Get that
excused.
technical.
For us, the deal is that it's absent if there's not an
Okay. We will change that to excused, and I'll put something about attempted remote call-in. Okay?
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other discussion on the minutes?
Was this, the 57,000, this was something that they had applied for and we approved back in 2019, then, correct? It's just a follow-through on that, is that it?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve with the amendment for Georgina being excused for the last meeting.
I move to approve the minutes with the amendment to excuse Georgina from the meeting.
Second.
All right. Everyone who approves, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone disapproves, say no. All right. We are moving on to public input. Any public input?
I did not receive anything.
All right. All right, moving on to business items. Request for approval for expenditures of large tax funds for promoting advertising the city of Las Vegas at the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta held October 1 through 9.
Thank you. So the contract was signed by the city manager to be a sponsor for the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. The expense to be the sponsor is $25,000, but there's going to be a number of other expenses associated with that contract. So as we started working through it, there were questions about where should we be paying this out of, and so I requested that it come to the Lodgers Tax Board for review and potential approval of some funds to help with the balloon fiesta. So you have the contract in your packet. You have my rough breakdown of the budget. So as I stated in my memo, the $25,000, basically we're sponsoring this skydiving team, and so 5 different nights, they skydive twice a night, and when they do, it says sponsored by the city of Las Vegas, New Mexico, and in exchange, we get to have a booth for the entire 9 days. However, we're required to man the booth during certain periods of the fiesta. So we're required to man the booth from 4:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. every day, and from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. every day. And so because it's 2 hours away, and we have to be there that early in the morning, I'm requesting that we're able to stay in Albuquerque in order to man that booth effectively. At this point, it looks like it's going to be our films and event planner, Charles Grego, and myself, most likely, that will be there most of the time. We're also asking for volunteers from the city council at this point to see if they'll choose some slots at the booth, and then we're going to go out to other employees and family members that might live in the area to see about time in the booth. There's some.
Lodgers tax people?
Pardon me?
Can any of the lodger tax board?
We can certainly put it out to the Lodgers Tax Board too. There's a requirement also that we have to provide brochures that go in the welcome packets. I delivered those last Friday. We still had 2,000 of our regular Las Vegas brochures that are all over town. So I delivered those last Friday. There's a requirement to provide insurance, which I emailed them a copy of that today. There's a requirement to provide a video that they'll play during the fiestas. We have to provide things in the booth to hand out, so I need to make more brochures and any other things that was mentioned, fun little things with the city of Las Vegas, New Mexico on them. So that's all kind of adding up into the budget. So the request is some funds from the lodger's tax to help cover some of those expenses, some or all. I'm not sure about lodging and food, but I put that in the budget just so that you were aware of what the total cost might be. I'm not sure if lodger's tax can cover that. It was a little unclear when I was reading things, so we can have a discussion on that.
First
Yes.
question. What did we do in the last 5 years with the balloon fiesta? Were you able to look up any of that information?
No, I was told by Mr. Martinez here that at one point the chamber did do a booth at the fiestas. I don't remember what years that was. It was a while ago though. But my understanding is we haven't done any kind of sponsorship or anything there for a while.
What's a while? 1 year, 2 years, 5 years?
No one that I'm working
Did
with
you,
remembers that.
I had mentioned the last employee that did stuff like this.
Right.
She had left a flash drive with
Yeah.
everything she did with Human Resources. She says the files were here for the last 5 to 6 years, what you guys did, the city meeting, for the balloon fiesta. They did have a booth, they had something there. And I just wanted to compare
Yeah. I have
what
not,
you guys did and what was the cost and where did the funding come from?
I have not been able to locate said flash drive.
And what about the old documents? Do you guys keep them? They're in some storage?
Possibly, but since you and I talked, I have not had time to rummage through the 2 storage buildings we have on site to try to find any of that. And I asked about the flash drive, and no one seems to know about where the flash drive is right now. So, I can't give you that information today.
So we're gonna approve something blindsided because we don't have, you weren't able to locate the last several years or any kind of information about what
Well,
we've done in the
I don't-
past.
Well, and I don't know if that would be a comparable comparison and apples to apples. I have no idea. This is a very specific contract that we signed to sponsor this skydiving team. So that's why it has this high price tag. What we've did in the past, I don't know. I'm sorry, I have no idea what, whoa. There's a butterfly just flew right by. I don't know what was done in the past. I asked the city manager to see if he could attend. He wasn't sure if he could come today. But I don't know, I have no history on this whatsoever. And I apologize, but I don't have any history on it.
Well, it's just a lot of money, considering that we're going through a crisis, that we're gonna be putting some money somewhere else that really, I mean, I think we should be using resources somewhere else. That's my personal opinion.
Understood.
And the fact that we're going blindsided on this. I would like to have some comparison, even if it is apple and oranges, just some kind of a comparison, because it is not the first time we ever did something, maybe not sponsor.
Yeah, I don't
but
think we
had
did
booths.
anything on this level.
We had booths,
Yeah.
you know, so I think this is really,
Do you remember, I mean, we would
we had,
put it on the board.
Yeah.
But we, to the degree, I think Matt had mentioned on our last meeting, things that we had done more in the distance past, but for the recent past, I don't have the detail, or I don't remember the detail of us putting forth something like this, or the money, that we approved. There could be some things that city personnel did do, but we should have the detail. Even I guess Chuck would know, he's been here the last couple of years as well. I think what we were talking about is well, we can examine what's going on here, the contract that they've signed, and the budget that she's putting forth, and decide accordingly. With the emergency, that's been the tough call, is across the board, what do we do? We want to market the city. We're in the light now. We want to take advantage of all the people that are coming to the Balloon Fiesta, but at the same time, we're in an emergency situation. So that's a tough position across the board of what do? We have opportunities, do we not take opportunities because we're in a current emergency? Meanwhile, the rest of the world is continuing to go. So that's a decision we have to make. We're hoping that the right decisions are made as far as the water situation and that gets solved, but we continue to plan accordingly for what we need to do for the long term for lodgers tax. In the last meeting, we discussed this as being a good idea to reignite and to continue doing it consistently. So as far as approval from lodgers tax boards, then we could see what we're doing now, and next year we could compare it to what we were doing now and move on. accordingly with the Lodgers Tax Board. I just don't have a recollection of us approving strategies. And it might have been there, I just don't have the recollection of us doing that. And if it is, that's fine. If we find that information, that's fine. If not, we go with what we need, what we have, and we can make sure that we're retaining our data now so that we don't lose it with personnel or the transfer of personnel.
The biggest cost right now is that sponsorship. I mean, we've had booths, we've been there, but $25,000?
So
You know,
no,
we've always had a face there. There's always been a face there at the Balloon Fiesta. This thing here. They've always had a booth.
Okay.
That's why I thought it was important when I mentioned it to you to pull back some of the old records to show what we did and what we had there and what was the expenditures. But the sponsorship is new, and that's the biggest chunk of the money right there.
Yeah, well, hopefully I can uncover some of those records and we can discuss that. If we decide to do this again next year, we can have that comparison.
I just don't want this to be in the public's eye as a junket trip for, the city employees or whoever the city's gonna allow to go, to have a nice weekend while we're here, can't flush our toilets, don't know if we can go out and eat, it's in paper plates and cups and so forth. This is what we're gonna get that negative feedback. That's gonna be a guarantee. So I would like to have some information in front of me to show what we did in the past
And I'm sorry, I don't have that for this.
in this community.
I understand.
yeah, so it looks like I'm just reading the contract, so the details in the contract
Did you get your
with it
contract?
for the sponsorship. 8 passes for all the sessions at the Fiesta, parking passes, admission tickets for 12 admission tickets to get in, 4 official sponsored jackets, 4 style caps for it. So is that, as far as the sponsorship goes of the actual skydiving team, is some of this, I'm just confused on, like, for the sponsored jackets, that's for something for whoever's going to wear. Just kind of, so I'm trying to confuse on, are we paying for uniforms for the skydivers, or this is just sponsoring them in general, or is it covering some of the costs?
So they're
them?
they're providing parking passes so that we can get in and out easily.
Yeah, so all of this is for the team that's going in, and what they're
Correct,
providing,
yeah.
right? Just to be clear.
And, they're giving us official event calendars, just, I guess, as a have a calendar.
Okay,
There are 4 jackets that are provided. I guess it's pretty cold at 4:30 in the morning, so they provide all the sponsors with official jackets to wear while they're there.
yeah.
So, and take home at the end of the.
So you guys will be sharing these jackets among how many people are going, and baseball caps, and giving them to, okay, my shift's over here, you can have the jacket and wear the hat? Is that it?
Well, I had to order jackets in sizes, so I
Yeah.
chose 4 different sizes based on what I was given. So
I just wanted clarity on whether it was for the team or for us.
It's
but-
for the
or for
sponsorship
whoever,
booth,
For the booth.
yes.
So, are there booths outside of said skydiving sponsorship? But can you have just a booth, just having a city and not sponsor the team?
There's a lot of different
Yeah.
opportunities and packages that the
Yeah.
Balloon Fiesta offers.
Right.
My understanding is that a lot of them were sold out, and so
this
this
point,
is one of
probably.
the few that was left.
To get in, yeah.
Yeah.
And so the special portion of the skydiving team is the attention of when they drop out of the plane, we're getting that type of attention, I hope the cameras are there and so on for it. So
Correct.
part of the premium of that is that portion. I'm just trying to separate, okay, what if we just had a booth, and then
Right.
what are we doing if we're skydiving? So there's some value.
Yeah, so.
What's the value added in the
So you-
skydiving portion?
So
Yeah.
by being a sponsor for something bigger like that, you get more things. So we're allowed to have, we get to hang banners all over the fences around the park. We're allowed up to 20 banners. We get to have, they'll play a video that we provide of our city, a 30-second video, a 60-second video, and they roll that on the screens periodically throughout the fiestas. So there's, depending on what your sponsorship level is, you either get those things or you don't get those things. So, like, I suppose if you were just paying for a booth, you wouldn't get some of those things that we're getting with this package.
So are we getting all of these things you just mentioned because we're sponsoring something?
Yes.
And do you have 20 banners that you can put up around the
No,
park?
I'm having to order banners, so
And at
that's,
what cost are these banners gonna be?
well, I have a rough estimate of $800. They're 4 by 6 is the size that we're allowed, and
4
I'm
by
only
6?
ordering 10 banners because
10, okay?
correct? So, and then we need to print more brochures to be able to hand out.
But we could do 20, and you're, what do you,
We can do up to 20 banners, correct?
but you're only gonna get 10.
I'm trying to be cognizant of cost, so I was just gonna order 10, but I can
Do you
order
have
20.
any left over around here that you can, that they use for the park and wherever? Can they be recycled?
I hope, if we have, they have to be 4 by 6 size in order to be hung
I'll
at
let
the
you-
park. So if they're bigger than that, I can't use them.
Okay, but you will look to see if we can have
Yes, I
them.
will, yes.
As far as the details, there's no way we could, like, as a board level for it, we either approve the banners or not, but the specifics of so get very hard if we continue to do that for all projects for micromanaging.
Well, she said
What
20, so
banners?
that's why I asked about the 10.
Okay, so as
Okay.
far as the count.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'll leave it to you for,
Sure.
but the broad strategy, now what those banners are gonna represent, do we have a strategy of what we're saying at Balloon Fiesta?
As of yet, my understanding is we're just trying to promote the city of Las Vegas. So those banners most likely will have our logo and City of Las Vegas, New Mexico, and probably something like, 2 hours away from Albuquerque, or come visit us, or, I'm not sure. There has not been time for a lot of discussion on that. So most likely they will have City of Las Vegas, New Mexico, proud sponsor of AIDF.
Will the lodger's
No.
tax be on there at all?
It,
City of Las Vegas
it
lodger's
has,
tax.
it has come up, I've had emails of why we're not putting sponsored by City of Las Vegas Lodgers Tax.
Okay.
And just putting the logo.
Okay.
For many municipalities, and for what I thought was what we would do as code is that we would put lodger's tax and not just the seal. So that is some concerns of mine.
Okay.
Because if we don't, then it's a complete blend of between the city and state. We can't tell the difference of what we're doing with our marketing dollars. So a lot of the attention of saying provided by City of Las Vegas Lodgers Tax is to clarify where the monies are coming from. They're not coming from general fund. They're coming from the
Okay.
collection of lodgers tax. So a lot of the time, that was the intention of
Okay.
putting that. And so in most of the stuff, most of our marketing material, that's why we wanted, we were asking for, say, if somebody's holding an event and we're providing marketing assistance, that it be clearly stated, funded by the City of Las Vegas Lodgers Tax, not just the city seal.
Okay.
To be clear that this was paid through lodgers tax and not general fund or anything
Right,
else.
right, okay.
So my hope is that's what we can do. Now, on certain materials, if there's not space or so on, I get it, but generally across the board, that's what the intention was, is that we were very clear it's City of Las Vegas largest tax.
Okay.
So if we can, in the short notice, are we gonna be able, like, it seems like swag and stuff, are we gonna be able to get this approved? We're stuck in a hard place, right? We really want to take advantage of it and get this going, but then it's so close, and then we're dealing with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Are we gonna be, or do we already have the swag? Stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, I'll leave it up to you, but do we have the capability to pull this off?
So, no, we
We got
don't
like
already
2
have the
months?
swag. It needs to be ordered.
Yeah.
So, we've got some state contractors that we can order it from to help speed things up.
Okay.
So we have until October 1st to get those things
In.
ordered and get them in. So we do still have some time. Our choices might be limited based on the time. But,
Okay.
But yeah, everything I've been researching so far, we can still get things in on time. It might not be our first or second choice, but it'll be, our third choice maybe. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
And same thing, I mean, so I guess they'll say City of Las Vegas or something, but hopefully in our future, if we have, and that's the problem without having the overarching strategy of a marketing campaign. It's tough whenever we do something like this to have a marketing message, right? We just put, the only thing we could put is City of Las Vegas. But hopefully in the future, we have something to put that would be eye-catching, or that would differentiate. The hope is that the New Mexico portion isn't too small, that people get that Las Vegas, Nevada isn't now advertising at the Balloon
Right.
Fiesta, it's Las Vegas, New Mexico. Somehow to get that attention, to make sure people don't confuse it, because it's not just people from within the country. It's all over the country, it's all over the world. So we want to make that impression of there's Las Vegas, New Mexico. So somehow that, in our swag, in our banners, and all of that, we need to put in some thought of how we're delivering that message across the board. The city seal, I get it, but it may not be identifiable for a lot of people.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that it's a great idea that we're doing it, that's something that whatever we put on all these materials is something that's going to be effective. Now for day use, okay, I think a lot of people are going to see that. I hope so, within the state, that they know that there's Las Vegas, New Mexico, but probably the same difference for the people that aren't. This contract is already signed, so are we trying to figure out, are we saying this is a pure marketing move completely, or are we trying to figure out what portions lodgers tax want to cover and what portions the city wants to cover? And that's what I was asking, is what the campaign's about. If it's partially about bringing attention to Las Vegas, about it's kind of like the in-between for the night at the legislature, right? Of we get a booth and we're trying to attract attention for Las Vegas for, hey, these are our needs, this is what's happening. So it's a in-between of, are we marketing, or are we I'm trying to justify some of these things to be a clear purpose for lodgers tax use, is what I'm trying to get at.
Well, I would say this is wholly marketing.
Completely.
I mean, yes, we are marketing the city of Las Vegas.
Okay. For tourism purposes, bringing them here.
Correct.
Okay. I'm just trying to be really clear, because again, we started with it's troubling because we're in between of, are we trying to bring them here still? We're in an emergency situation, so short term and long term.
So, Mr. Bakta, if I may interrupt,
Mhm.
members of the committee, I wanted to shed some light on how this came about.
Okay.
There's been some discussion over the last few years of doing such a type of sponsorship with the Balloon Fiesta. We have no record of the city of Las Vegas ever expending any money to the Balloon Fiesta. I know you had brought that up. We have nothing on file that we've ever spent any dollars of the city of Las Vegas monies to do anything at the Balloon Fiesta. There is an option to do a booth. All those booths are already taken. When you rent a booth, which is $4,000, that's all it is. It's a booth. They don't announce your name. They don't do any of that. There's a list, you have the list of all the different types of sponsorships going into over $100,000 all the way down to, I believe, $500. In speaking with Miss Stephanie Pendergrast, which is the sales manager for the Balloon Fiesta, I told her what our target was, how we wanted to bring people to Las Vegas. Not right now, obviously, because in the situation we're in, but the rest of the world is going on, and we have to look at what we need to do for the spring, for next year, for next summer, all these other things.
Yeah.
And after speaking with her, she said, I think your best option would be, because a lot of these were already sold out. They've been sold for 6 months in advance. So she said, I think the only thing that's left on our list that we think will target the audience you want is the skydivers, which is the sky tracks. They announce your name every time they come out. There's a huge flag that they, I don't know if it's 50,000 square feet or whatever it is, every time they come out, which is 10 performances, I believe.
Correct.
Throughout the event. And they announce our sponsored by the City of Las Vegas. Obviously, it was originally $35,000. They dropped that to $25,000 for us. And then with that comes with all the other stuff. Comes with the booth, comes with the announcements, comes with the video display, comes with the banners. It comes with a lot of other stuff, the packets that go into all the balloon RVists. It goes into everybody's packet that works the event. So there's a lot of things that come with it. Again, the city has never done this. On record, it's never been done before. We've never spent a dollar towards the Balloon Fiesta.
But we have been at the Balloon Fiesta.
I could not confirm that. Every Balloon Fiesta costs money to do that, unless it was paid out of somewhere else, but the city has never spent any money.
Well, that's why I say I don't have a recollection in the recent past of Lodgers Tax Board approving something like this for Balloon Fiesta. And so, and then you guys would have a record of if the city would, on the outside, would have to spend money to send someone to Balloon Fiesta. Yes, it looks like right here, there's costs involved. I mean, staying in Albuquerque during Balloon Fiesta week is very, very expensive.
If you can find it.
If you could find it, I hope, I do have a hotel in mind, but hopefully reservations are made. Look, the contract's signed, right? We're doing this. Okay, so we're deciding now that we need to approve it through lodger's tax, right?
Yeah, we're requesting approval of funds to help pay for it. If the Lodgers Tax Board, doesn't feel it's an appropriate use of the funds, then we'll need to find money in our general fund budget.
Well, I mean, my questioning was just to get the exact. I mean, you clarified clearly what we're doing, the details of the events, how it's being marketed. Again, the message. In the short time, it's tough to do, but hey, let's bring it. Let's at least bring attention to Las Vegas, New Mexico, and the battle. That was my first question: is the short term versus the long term. But our strategy here is let's keep going with our long term strategy. Let's not have this crisis bog us down and just stall. We've been stalling for COVID. We've been stalling for fire. We've been stalling for water. We're going to be continuously stalling for something. We can't let that drag us down. We have to be continually planning for the long term. Getting this going again is the start for planning for the long term.
And I think how this differentiates between a sponsorship for a specific event versus what we're doing here is, if we advertise for, let's say, the fiestas, we are targeting everybody to come to the fiestas on one weekend. This is targeting everybody to come to Las Vegas for years to come.
For a long
to show people what the beauty of Las Vegas has to offer to the rest of the world, really. We're not trying to target people to come into one event.
Sure. And there'll be so many new, I mean, just the sheer amount of attention, it's the biggest event for our state, period. So I think that's the conversation we had last week, is that to not have something there with those eyes is something. So I think it's we mentioned it was a no-brainer to have something. We went in on it late, so you explained that all the other avenues were exhausted. Hopefully this one, the pricier one, it's pricey because of the type of attention it provides. But it's true, there's going to be a lot of faces that are going to actually hear about or see Las Vegas, New Mexico, will go, huh? And even years later down the road, they're going to be like, hey, I remember Las Vegas, New Mexico. As long as we're clear with that messaging and they're not confused by, oh, why is Las Vegas, Nevada? Yeah, discussion, Matt.
I have a couple of questions, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this whole request, I guess. And I guess at the end of the day, I did share that, yes, we've been at the Fiesta, Balloon Fiesta before. We went as the chamber. So the dollars came from the city at one point. They were sent to the chamber. The chamber went ahead and bought a booth, probably at that same one that's about 4,000 now. I don't know what it was back then. So we did man the booth before. We had one before. But I think the city manager's correct. You know, it only came with X and not all the bells and whistles that we're getting now. But I guess my concern, and I've heard from a few people already, and I'm saying, whoa, okay. I guess and maybe people do have a short-term memory of what we're trying to get accomplished. I feel sort of at a disadvantage because I'm in the marketing business. That's what we do in the business that I have. We market events, we market businesses, that's what we do. So I guess I'm always in favor of any marketing, you know, that's going to bring, you know, people to events, people to our community, people to our businesses, our clients that we take care of. But I guess people are thinking, well, how can you spend X number of dollars, whatever that number is, when we're in a crisis right now? And I think they're looking at it short term. And there's no guarantee that there's some people are still going to come from the Fiesta next week, you know, or the week after the event happens at the Balloon Fiesta. So in my mind, I'm trying to make sure, okay, well, let's see this process. And I guess my question would be to the city manager. When you signed the contract, you probably were well aware of the water situation. Did you take into consideration that we were probably headed to a crisis in lieu of the information you had at the time?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I would imagine, I don't know if the city council has asked that question, or councilors, or the mayor has asked that question. Have you heard that kind of a question before from the community?
Yes.
Is that something that people
we
are
do
asking
get those
you?
all the time, but
Oh.
again, the rest of the world is still functioning. We're going through this
I know.
catastrophe right now.
Yeah.
But we need to continue the ball rolling. We don't want to lose momentum. We already lost a lot of momentum during COVID and the fires, and we want to keep that momentum or build the momentum back up for the years to come. That's why we do that. And you know, we're not using just general fund. We have monies that we had already set aside for certain events, whether it's through lodger's tax or we have in the community development budget already set aside. So that's why we thought that this would be a great idea.
And I guess, Mr. Manager, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair. That's the question that the community's asking. You know, why are you spending that kind of money right now when you know we're in a crisis? Well, they don't know the whole story. I mean, and I understand where you're at. But you know, it's not up to us. We're not going to be put in the hot seat. You are, and if you're not already there, okay. And I'm just trying to, how do we justify this? Like I said, I'm very much in favor of marketing, and this is an opportunity that presented itself. And yeah, the rest of the world's not going through what we are, and hopefully, and then don't forget, and Amy, you'll have to help me with this. We got extra dollars for something. Is this part of what we're going to use those extra dollars for?
So we are in contact with New Mexico True about could we use some of those extra dollars
on this.
For this. So so that's something they're discussing, and they may be able to throw some money back at us to help.
That's what we talked about in the last meeting too, is that
Yeah.
we got some matching funds that we approved from last week. I mean, this could, if The hope is so, that they would cover it and this event gets covered with matching funds.
Yeah.
And not all of it or part of it, we don't know
Yeah,
yet.
their program's very specific, so this falls outside of their usual program, but they're
Yeah.
working with us to try to see if they can help a little bit.
So
with
there's
what
a
we're doing.
possibility we could get outside funding to
There's a
help us with this.
possibility, yes.
So I guess my question is, we're sort of at a disadvantage. We're almost voting on something that we don't really have a final say for, because we're recommending whatever we decide here to the city council will ultimately have the decision. In my mind, we're an advisory board to the city council. You know, I'm sort of, what call it, caught between a rock and a very hard place because of the fact that I'm a marketing guy. I think we need to market our town. And I'm also a realist. I know we're in the middle of a crisis. So it's a hard decision for me, myself, to make, because we need every piece of advantage we can long-term. And I don't think, we need to be looked at from the outside as a community that doesn't know what they're doing. We've been presented a challenge that no one would have prepared for, or could have prepared for. So, it's the realist part of me that's dealing with this, and then it's also the marketing businessman part of me that's saying, oh my God, this is an opportunity. So I'm really, in the middle of this, I'm on top of this rock.
Yeah.
Where do I go?
Well, I think a lot of us feel that way, and so, I think the whole city is feeling that way. And so, I think the city manager is trying to, like he said, keep an eye on the future and take advantage of this. And it's the timing is unfortunate, but at the
Right.
same time,
We just can't
there's been
stop.
talk about trying to have a presence at the balloon fiesta. And so maybe next year we'll do something different. Maybe next year we won't be doing this cost and this.
Well, we'll have
this
something to go
venture.
on. We could review it and be like,
Yeah.
wow, this brought
Yeah.
this much attention, which brings up another point. We'll have to figure out how we track, or if they provide us with
Right.
any information on what kind of impact that we had.
Exactly.
But
The number of visitors, the number of people that came, and those
Yeah.
kinds of things. So we'll have some stats for next year, and we'll know more about the other types of sponsorships and how they work, and maybe next year we'll just do the booth if we feel like, so, yeah. And just so you know, we do have a city council meeting at 11:30
Okay.
on this same item, so we'll.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to get this.
we need to get rolling.
Yeah.
Look, we, I don't know, I'll have this today for my business. Look, majority of business is right now is based off the emergency, but I get warning signs from my advisors internally for what we market. If I just pay attention to just what's happening now, I'm gonna be dead in the water months from now when this emergency is over.
Right.
I have to continue to market, I have to continue to plan for the long term. Just servicing just what's happening now is not gonna be good for my long-term future. So yes, it's a tough situation, like what do I do at the hotels? But again, I gotta keep moving for what's good for my business for the long term. The city needs to do it in the same way. We're thinking about the long term here. The type of event that we're trying to start and go for could have impact for the long term. If we shut it down and shut everything down here for the short term, that's impacting years to come, not just now. So it would be narrow-minded of us to completely shut things down. We've been doing that for 2 years. That's caused a lot of impact already. So most of the stuff that impacts us later, we come back, we do hindsight. Well, what happened? Why didn't we do this? Well, it's because we didn't plan for the long term. We didn't put for those things and those actions later is we're going to have shots from everybody paying attention then of what, why, what happened. The things we do now is important. That's across the board, for the water situation, for everything. For this thing, the thought process is that we're starting something for the long term. Go ahead, Georgie.
I have a couple of questions. You had mentioned the first one about, is it marketing? You said 100% marketing, correct?
Correct.
All right. So this has been, you've looked at all the aspects of this and it meets all of the marketing requirements, correct?
It's outside of a 60-mile radius. It's promoting the city of Las Vegas, putting heads in beds, bringing visitors to the town, businesses, all that, yes.
Ms. Ortega, is there a portion of this that you think does not tie to marketing?
No, I just want to make sure that it's clear, because the public's going to have a different opinion of what we vote on because of the crisis that's happening right now. Okay? The second thing is the brochures that you're printing, how old are they? And the information that's in there, is it going to be current? Is it, I'm not sure. Are they 4 years old? Are they 3 years old? The brochures, the information that's in those brochures.
Sure.
So that's the other thing, because I don't want people to get information that we're handing out that's old or doesn't exist or something. I want them to have a fairly new vision of what we have here.
Right.
These
Okay?
brochures were created a year ago with lodgers tax funds that. the
Okay,
board
that's
approved.
what I'm asking. That's the other, that was very, just so I'm clear on that. Then the other thing was, nope, that was it, was just those two. Basically, those two things, because we're gonna be putting this out, like you said, Leo, that it's gonna go out to international world. So I want this information that we're putting out is gonna be current and correct. I know we approved it. I just want to make sure you didn't grab some old handouts, okay?
I've distributed the most current handouts that we have.
Okay.
Were they made this year? No. But they're the most current ones that we have.
Okay.
So basically, if we're putting forth the money, we want to make sure that we've fully taken advantage of the opportunity.
Sure. And we,
for it.
we, that's our intent, is to do the best that we can with this opportunity, with the time that we have.
With the
We're
time
gonna-
that you-
We're
that
gonna
you've
get
got.
as much information out there as we can.
Yeah, and if we get the right people in there, I mean, you've got passes through it. The hope is that the people that we're sending are impactful people that could talk about the city. That'll be the other half of it. Look, you've got things that are part of this package. Who do we send? Hopefully, it's people that can talk about Las Vegas and help with the marketing effort
Right.
there. So there's value in those passes, whether it's parking or so on. We just want to make sure that the people that we're sending are going to contribute to the marketing effort,
Okay.
especially if we're spending the lodgers tax dollars. But again, that's why it needs to be really clear. If the public is going to be confused by why are we paying for this, lodgers tax is paying for this for marketing purposes.
Okay.
It just brings up another point. If you're not clear that who's paying for it, right, then the public is going to be confused. If you just see the city seal, they're going to think their tax dollars, their specific tax dollars are paying for this. And they're like, why are we paying for this? It becomes beneficial to say the city of the largest tax is paying for this for marketing.
Okay. I'll make sure that's on as many things as I can get.
As many things across the board, let's not confuse that, but this meeting brings up a few of those points, but it's important for the public for that distinction, and that's why
Okay.
that distinction's made across the board.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Is there any other concerns or discussion on it? It looks like there's a budget laid out. The cost of the contract is in front of us and what details are being paid for in that contract. So is there any other lacking information or any discussion that we need to move on? Any other discussion?
Other than you are clear, absolutely clear, that all this budget is for marketing and that it meets all the requirements that the
Well, like-
largest taxes.
Like I stated
for funding.
earlier, the only thing that is rather vague in the rules about the lodger's tax is, can the money be used for the cost for lodging for the employees that are going and doing the marketing? And I talked about it with City Manager Maestas, and so there's a little gray area in there, so if there's something that you would like to remove from that budget, that would be the one thing I would maybe suggest. But everything that we've read, it can be used if those employees are specifically going
To market.
To market, which is exactly what the money is being used for. So the employees are gonna be there the entire time, going to the Balloon Fiesta and marketing the town. So, everything we've read said it could potentially, the lodger's tax and funds could be used for that, if that is the specific reason for the trip.
I have one more question.
Yes.
And maybe it's something that the manager might be able to answer. We have two scenarios here. If we approve it, the recommendation would be lodger's tax recommends to the full council that they consider it. They can still do whatever they want, vote it up or down. If we do not approve it here at this level, the recommendation to the city council is do not consider it, but then the city council can still do yes or no with it. So at the end of the day, Mr. City Manager, are you prepared to handle it moving forward with whatever the city council decides to do? One way or another,
It's up to what the city council would like to do, to
Okay.
use lodger's tax or not.
or not? And if it's not going to be utilizing lodger's tax, then the city will have no other choice but to find other public funds to make sure that the event gets done.
Yes, sir.
So there is not a question of do the event or not do the event. We're doing the event. It's just where's the money coming from?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in lieu of that, if you look at it from the outside, I'm looking at this as, are their lodger's tax dollars going to be used to pay for this event? Or is it public funds from the community that are going to pay for general fund dollars? So I guess if I had a choice one way or the other, I'd like it to come from another specific fund other than public funds, the general fund. Does that make sense? So it just really
If not
matters
approved
which,
by lodger's tax, you mean?
yeah, if not approved by law, it's actually be coming from the general fund, which would be the public funds, taxes that people in general pay, and not specifically the lodgers that come into our community. So in other words, no matter what, this event's going to get done. We've already signed the contract, all we're waiting for is, what bucket of money are we using? Is that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But look, the council, yes, can do what they want. We are the advisory board, but it's our duty to advise. So would it help that we're advising them? We're kind of doing there's more items than this on the council's agenda. So for this portion, we're able to advise, look, this is a good candidate to use lodger's tax fund. So that helps council decide that, hey, we don't want this to be using, is this a good candidate for lodger's tax money? And that's what we're advising on. So if we say yes, we're saying this is a good candidate for lodger's tax money.
No, I understand.
Correct.
Right.
And we're gonna have to ask you to wrap it up pretty soon, I'm
All right.
sorry.
So I'll entertain a motion to, look, we executed, we're doing a lot of things on an emergency basis on short term, but again, it's because of the lack of long-term planning. So again, if we stop doing some of these things, we're gonna keep doing stuff on an emergency basis. So, and with that, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
I guess I will move that we approve it in consideration of the fact that it's coming from lodger's tax
Yes.
and not from the general fund.
Absolutely, and that's why we wanted to make it clear that to the public, and that's why we put it on the things that we put forth, that this is lodger's tax tax fund being used. We're not using general fund money in an emergency.
But also at the same breath, I'm also saying, people are gonna look at this as a short-term issue, because they're not looking at marketing long-term, okay? And hopefully there'll be matrix a matrix of some point in the future to gauge, did we make a good decision?
Do we
or
make a
not?
decision?
Yeah.
I think if we make decisions for the long term, that's a good decision. If we do everything based on the short term, sometimes that doesn't work.
But like I said, it's really a difficult decision to make a recommendation to the city council. Ultimately, no matter what we select to do here.
Tough job. I hope
council will
it's
have
a
to
strong
make
that
a
can,
decision.
yeah.
But that's
let
what
us
we're here
through.
for, we gotta make a decision, so.
Yep.
I love the quietness that we had of no motion at all, but at the end of the day, we've gotta put our hammer down and get something done, but
All right.
I think it's in the best interest of the community to use lodger's tax, a specific fund that can be used primarily for this, for the reasons outlined, and that the dollars to fund this will not come from the general fund.
Yep. Okay, so
And
I,
the fact that you, the city, or Amy specifically, look at New Mexico True
For
to
the ballot.
possibly, by a slim chance, get some type of funding from them,
We will.
matching funding.
We're working on
we,
it.
look, we have the budget.
Okay.
We've got the money. We needed to, this is gonna be the start of us, to me, of a broader campaign. So I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
All right. Roll call?
Okay, Member Ortega.
Yes.
Uh,
Ortega Angel, please.
Sorry, Ortega and Hill. Member Martinez.
Yes.
Member Strader.
Yes.
Chairman Bacta.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
All right. Moving past discussion items?
I have no discussion
No
items for
discussion
today.
items. All right. I'll entertain the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, I'll second. Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
Amy, when
Yeah.
you make this presentation in a few minutes or whenever that item comes up in the next meeting, could you let them know some of the discussion we had here and how the motion was stated?
Yes, I will.
Right, usually we don't have like the next meeting right after,
Oh, yeah, it's never.
so I'm not sure if councilors or anyone have had the chance to review. And I know some of them watch it so they can review what we've discussed.
They don't have a chance, it's pretty fast.
Yeah.
But this one's a quick turnaround.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. How are you? Okay. Mr. Mayor, Matt.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are
Good to
you?
see you.
I got an email from you regarding